Welcome to the Whiskey Congress. Honest, open talk dedicated to speaking the truth to those who are open to hearing it. Black, white, right, left. Most importantly, honest, bold, and fueled by good whiskey. In Whiskey Veritas, we are Whiskey Congress. Join the evolution.
Whiskey Congress is back in session. Steve and I are together in the Cleveland studio. One day after the wrapping up of the Democratic National Convention. So we took an off week last week, just scheduling stuff got in the way, but we're back. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Been a long couple of weeks here. Unfortunately, my schedule kind of threw a wrench in the plans for last week's show, so apologize. But we're back in the saddle, and we had the DNC this week.
We did.
Look, it was a night and day sort of contrast to what we saw with the RNC, right? It was just more vibrant. I mean, I think there was just more of everything, right? The stars were bigger. I think the crowd was bigger. The ratings were bigger. Everything, all these sort of superficial things. And look, at the end of the day, they threw a party, and they threw a really good one, and they got I thought they got some really effective speeches in there, right?
I agree.
Conservatives are going to sit there and say, "Oh no, it's all poppycock" or whatever. But I thought some really solid points were made, and especially if there were some undecided voters out there. I think. I thought Harris's speech was good. I thought Kinzinger's speech was good. I thought Hillary's speech was phenomenal. AOC's speech was good. I mean, they just all came out and they hit the points that they needed to hit. I think they did take the gloves off a little bit and got a little down in the trenches with the MAGA, name calling, poking fun, all that sort of stuff. But they did it with more naturally, and it wasn't forced, right? They took their jabs, but they weren't taking too big swings.
The Obama jab about crowd size and the hand gesture was funny.
Right. That was and what's funny is he did that because he knows how bad that got under Trump's skin.
Absolutely.
Right. He knows that Trump probably threw something when he saw that.
I imagine he lost his fucking mind.
And Obama knows it, and Obama is, it's like that line in Die Hard, right? Just nobody can get under somebody's skin like John McCain, right?
Right. Okay.
And I think for Trump, nobody can bother Trump like Barack Obama, right? I mean, because he just can't, there's nothing that he can hang over his head as bad as he wants to, and he tries. So I thought that was, pretty hilarious.
I did too.
And I mean, also it wasn't that. I mean, Trump is always triggered, but his posts on Truth Social,
I saw a lot of them,
were wild.
Yeah. And I think I heard that he tweeted 38 times during Harris's speech,
and it was something insane like that last night. I mean, I think he put out 100 truths or whatever
posts.
I mean, and then he it's funny. I have to imagine they're in full panic mode at this point.
I think you're
in
right.
The Trump campaign and the GOP in general. But Trump puts out a truth post or whatever. Ranting about Kamala's bad record with immigration and all the immigrants she let over, and that immigrants are ruining women's lives,
right? And
taking women's rights and taking all the African American jobs, right? It's bro, do you
he's swinging with his eyes closed at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just throwing it out there, and what's ridiculous, right, is that there are black people out there that will, say, yeah, right on Trump. I mean, you have those people out there. You've seen them, the blacks for Trump, whether they're paid or not. We know that there's plenty out there that aren't paid, right? I've seen them.
I've got a friend in the comedy scene that's constantly putting on Facebook things showing he won't actually say he's supporting Trump, but he'll attack Harris.
Well,
and
the comic scene's a little bit different because it's just, how can I, agitate people and get under their skin, right? Like it's a big part of it. But maybe he believes it. I don't know. Either way,
in this case, I
don't know. But I've just seen it, right? Like I was over in Valley View few weeks back, and there was this black dude wearing a Confederate flag shirt with Trump's face. Like there was Confederate flag on the front, Trump's face on the back, and something like with a checked box, and he had he had a little pop-up tent with all this MAGA pro-Trump stuff, and loud and proud, and I had my window down, and he's just like, Trump 2024. He was like, are you on the Trump train? I was like, no. He was like, oh, you still on the plantation? I was like,
oh boy.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to drive away before I drive into your little tent here. But we know that those people are out there, and that they will, they'll allow him to say stupid shit like that. And I've been thinking a lot just being on Twitter, and I think I brought it up on our last show. Like I don't even know how much longer it makes sense for us to even stay on there. Like it's just such an echo chamber of MAGA.
I mean, that's your department. That's your call.
I mean, and I'm kind of just thinking out loud here because, and it's not, because people are like, well, you have to counter all the crazy shit that they say. Yeah, I guess, but again, when they're in an echo chamber and there's no check on reality, right, and there's no willingness for them to accept, facts, reality, real situations, and they're going to continue to skew things and either use misinformation or flat out lie or just deny it. There's no point to continue to engage in that fight, especially on a social media platform.
Okay. I mean, I've stopped talking politics on my Facebook page about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it became exhausting.
No, and again, too, also, part of that is just, we don't pay, like I was saying last time, we don't pay for an account, so our reach is very limited.
Sure.
Right? So he pushes us down, and he even said that, if you don't pay, we're basically going to treat you like a bot. Right? So we already have limited reach, and it doesn't matter how many followers you have. They will throttle you. Even if you're hitting the algorithm exactly the way you want it, on the best case scenario, you're only hitting 10 to 15% of the people that follow you, no matter how, once you get over, a few hundred people, right? So we've got 3,000 people that follow us on Twitter, but maybe at best we probably 300 saw it, and for us it was probably more like 30. Right, and so there's limited reach, and then so we're probably down even from that 30 that we were before, right? And we would have some peaks where we would actually have a broader reach.
Yeah, you used to get back and forth,
right? For whatever reason, but now on Twitter, you just we're basically talking to ourselves there.
Okay, like I said, your call. So my takeaway from the DNC, I didn't watch a ton of it live. I watched a lot of replays and stuff. Same. I mean, I just sitting down and watching the pageantry. Yeah. Frankly, I don't put much weight into conventions typically.
The 4-day infomercial.
Yeah, I mean, no, just because what you said before. I don't think anyone who's died in the wool voting for Trump, they're not going to move. I don't know how many undecided voters are left out there. But what something like this does, I think, is give energy to this team. And so now the number of Democrats that are going to come out and vote hopefully goes up, because voter turnout is as important as...
Voter turnout is crucial. But to your point, I think, Biden won in 20, and people were just like, okay, Joe Biden, you're... Okay, fine. We're going to just vote for you. We don't care. Right? And Trump and his team viewed that they couldn't wrap their brain around it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, how are you voting for a guy and you're not even going to his rallies, right? Tying that sort of energy together. And so that was kind of their thing that they were really holding on to. Hey, a lot of people show up to our rallies, so that means we're better than you, right?
Yeah.
And then they have oh, look at all the people at the DNC, look at all the people or the RNC, look at all the people who watched it. We're so popular, everybody loves us. Our energy is crazy. And then the Democrats said, well, we're going to let the young, culturally conscious kids do this, right, and see how that goes. And let me tell you, flawless. They did listen. They countered the RNC in every way, shape, and form. They had bigger artists that performed, songs that we
bigger than Hulk Hogan and Chris Rock. How is that possible?
Kid Rock.
I always fuck that up.
I don't know how.
I don't know either. But yeah,
and you love Kid Rock or Chris Rock. You love Kid Rock too.
I actually don't dislike Kid Rock, but I am a huge Chris Rock fan.
But the point is just that they went bigger, and like there was a scene where they're just waving violently American flags at the DNC in the United Center. I mean,
chanting
USA, right? And you could literally feel on social media just the deflation on the right, because it's just like, that's our thing.
Right.
You can't do that, right? Now, they counter it with cynicism and being snarky assholes, but you could feel the energy let out of the room, because all of a sudden, you've been sitting there saying these people are unpatriotic this whole time, and then it's just like, when they're on their big stage, they show you, they just outshine you in every way in terms of patriotism.
And they put a bunch of veterans out there, and a lot of the veterans were really pissed at the attacks on Tim Waltz's record.
Yeah,
and that's, I think, important.
Right. I mean, it really, what it did was you saw a lot of people sort of draw back a little bit that were on the right, that were, had their gripes with the left and the DNC, but then you saw them. They may not have converted, but they definitely quieted down, right? So then it isolated your more extreme, ridiculous voices, and those people just look absolutely ridiculous, Trump being the leader of that group, and then going on down the line to Fox News, like Imane Khelif, she put out a tweet that, if she were still...
I was going to say, she's no longer with Fox.
Right. I mean, if she were still relevant, right? Like, it could bury her, but I mean, she
what did she tweet? I don't even know it.
She, so Kamala Harris and another, I forget which speaker it was, but they were both talking about their, experience at historically black colleges and how much they appreciated them and what they did for them as individuals and what they did for their careers. And, Imane Khelif's just like, oh, this is just awful to listening to these women talk about going to historically black colleges. What if white people got up there and talked about going to predominantly white colleges? Notice I said predominantly because there are minorities at these schools. It's like,
there's white people.
Do you not know that there's like historically black colleges are historically black, but anybody can go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of white people, right? Like super white people, like from Europe, right? That go to HBCUs, right? Because some of the different programs that they have they just fit better, and then they can get scholarships that they can't get at, predominantly white schools. So they go to HBCUs, right? A lot of athletes go there. Right, because it's easier chance for them to get in on stateside. Like it's, like some of these people they went out of their way to step on their own dicks, from Imane Khelif to Trump to all of them.
I got to bring this. I think it was Jesse Waters. It was one of the Fox hosts. He went back, so he was criticizing Obama's speech, saying it was mean and inappropriate, whatever. And then he brought up the fucking birth certificate again. And I'm like, can we fucking drop this? They've got their catchphrases, and they will dig into them. They keep calling Kamala Harris ultra-liberal and a Marxist. Now, the liberal thing is bullshit, but she's liberal, but she's not like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC type liberal. But of course, every time a Democrat runs, they are the most liberal. They play that card every time. Like, how is it possible that... First of all, how do you fucking measure that? But then... when he brought back the birth certificate thing, I was just like, he's not the president anymore, okay? Your last-ditch Hail Mary, we can stop Obama from being president thing, didn't work in 2008, and twice. Trump bragged about proving that he got him to give up the birth certificate, right? Trump said, I'm the one who got him to finally show the birth certificate. Okay, congratulations, Donald. It was stupid the whole time, but whatever. Right. But now you're saying, what? That you don't believe what Trump said? Or you have the memory of a goldfish... And you just know that's when you're winning catchphrases.
Right. I mean, and it's hilarious. No, the other thing, too, with Tim Walz, they had his son, and his son has, I think it was autistic or something along those lines. And the way they went after that kid, I like, come on, guys, right? Like the kid's got some stuff going on upstairs. He got real excited, and I mean, I don't know. As a dad, shit like that, like I don't understand how you got these people out there saying that they're Christians, and all. And look, I get it. I'm not an idiot, right? We've been around this before, but it just there's some things when, like, as a dad, when I see a son or a daughter so happy for their parent, like, how can you not connect to that?
It's touching.
Right? Well, even if as long as you don't have a shit relationship with your particular parent, right? Like, you should be able to connect to that even if you don't have a kid. And see some of these people who, they want to drag you all about family values and we got to get rid of porn and we need women back in the kitchen and all that other shit, right? Like, you see something good and wholesome and you're just like, that kid's weird.
Right.
Right? What the fuck is this, Mean Girls? What the fuck is going on?
Ann Coulter tweeted something and then realized I shouldn't have tweeted that and took it back.
Right.
And she, because she got crushed in Twitter.
I mean, to get Ann Coulter to delete something and back down.
Right.
I mean, how about this?
Weird. I think that's all she said, but
she did. And but kudos to Ann Coulter, I guess, for having the wherewithal to be a little less cunty and take it down. Right? That's a step forward for her.
All right, we're going with the low bar. Fine. We'll say she cleared the low bar. But yeah, I'm not giving her credit. But
okay,
because if it was done out of I did this, if she would have written an apology, if you would tweeted an apology and said, looking back, that was out of line, I would give her credit for that. This was just like, this is self-preservation. This is not class. This is not decency. This is purely like, oh, fuck.
Right.
And her value is the wrong word. Her relevance, it has been waning for years and continues to wane because so many people just stepped in and said, I'm the blonde girl with the attitude. That's
her and Megyn Kelly, like they all...
Laura Ingraham.
Yeah.
And now there's like, you've been replaced by Tommy Lauren. You've been replaced by whoever else. Yeah.
Tommy Lauren, when's the last time you even thought about her?
She came up with something like this yesterday.
Oh, okay.
In my feed. I got to throw one side story in there. Did you hear about Hulk Hogan coming to Medina, Ohio to promote his beer?
I knew he was here, yeah.
He was promoting his beer at a country bar in Medina, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. And he asked her, you want me to body slam Kamala Harris?
Oh,
dude. Now, I don't think that qualifies as a threat on the president or the vice president, but it ain't good.
Terry.
Yeah. Do you want me to? And this is still being unfolded, but a woman got hit with a beer that was beer can. So he was promoting his new beer. I think it's American beer or something like that. This is idiocracy. This is idiocracy. Some woman got hit in the head with a thrown can and ended up with 9 stitches. Now, they're not saying he threw it, but they're not saying he didn't.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I get to drop 2 doozies on you in a row. Usually you're the find that story. But yeah, woman got hit in the head with a can of beer, causing her to get 9 stitches. Now, I'm sorry that happened to you, lady. I'm sure you were there because you're MAGA and whatever, and maybe this changes your vote. But regardless, that lady is going to get some cash. And I hate when people think that it's, all about lawsuits, but I don't know if the bar, Hulk Hogan, or whoever's getting sued, but someone's getting sued. I also want to talk about Mike Lindell. So I can't believe you didn't see this, but this is awesome. He films himself going to a barbershop, shaves off his mustache to go in disguise, puts on some goofy...
To go in disguise?
Yes, and he does look very different without a mustache, I will say that.
No shit.
Puts on a hat, and he goes to the DNC, and he's getting filmed doing this, and then he ends up, there's a kid named Knowa from Georgia who was I can't find the name of the congressman that he was a guest of, but he's like a 12-year-old kid, and he's like an aspiring journalist, so it's cool, right? You bring a kid to this thing and let him put a microphone out there and do adult stuff. Mike Lindell gets into an argument with this kid, claiming that 257,000 votes have been discovered in Georgia, and the kid asks Mike Lindell his source, and when he doesn't answer initially, he goes, "So your source is trust me, bro?" And then Mike, "It's in the papers. You should read the papers," and he storms off. Actually, the kid might have walked away from him. The kid walked away and on microphone says, "He's full of crap." And then again, the congressman that brought him down there said, you're real tough there, Mike Lindell, going after a 12-year-old. Why don't you come at me? To my knowledge, Mike Lindell has not come at him. But yeah, yelling at a 12-year-old and losing.
I mean, I guess we got to be at a point where it's like, why are we even still paying attention to this guy? It's sad where this guy was and where he's at now. I mean, but
I do actually have a level of sympathy for the guy. He's clearly deranged.
No. Relax,
I do.
Relax. Come on.
He's clearly deranged.
Okay, yeah. I don't, like, fucking crazy. I don't feel bad for you.
All right, well, I mean...
Like, he did it to himself.
Oh, I'm not...
Come on.
Let me make sure I state that. I do have sympathy for him as a human who has got serious issues. Do I think the guy's a complete tool bag? Abso-fucking-lutely. But, I just think he's fucking nuts. And you're right. Why is he still relevant? Because he does a decent job of keeping himself there. He's also lost his businesses and been sued for hundreds of millions of dollars successfully. So I can understand why he might be a bit unhinged and really, really, really want Donald back in there because somehow he thinks Donald Trump can overturn his lawsuits. But now it's your turn for the...
Yeah. So, JD Vance, my God. Senator from Ohio. That is the worst part about this being from Ohio, but JD Vance from Ohio. They try to do a PR thing where he's going to go to a donut shop and talk to the workers and get some donuts and seem like just a regular guy. And it was one of the most awkward, uncharismatic, just weird interactions, right? And I just, it's so weird. I don't even know if we want to play it. Because chances are you've probably seen it by now. But
up to you.
No, it's fine. But it just, it's like, hey, how long you been working here? Yeah. How long has this place been here? Oh, yeah. Yeah, give me some glaze and sprinkles and, whatever works.
Whatever makes sense.
Yeah, whatever makes sense. Right?
No, I don't, all right, in his defense is order, but granted he was buying for a whole bunch of people, so you want an assortment, but who the fuck doesn't know how to order donuts? And
the sprinkle stuff you got going on.
And he's the guy who's trying to play himself off as, I'm the everyday man, hillbilly elegy and all that shit. He's trying to say, like, he's a normal guy, one of us, and completely face-planted. It was comically bad.
No, it was... the guy just doesn't have it, right? I mean, he's an Ivy League guy. He went out and worked for, Peter Thiel in California. And,
right.
He's not a regular guy. He's not, relatable. Right. And so when you're not relatable and you're trying to force it, it is way worse.
100%, yeah.
It's almost like, dude, just kind of lean into your awkwardness. That might be better than what you're doing right now. And
it's not exactly a tit for tat, but compared to Tim Walz, who looks very relatable, very down to earth. And did you see?
Oh my God!
You talk about the coaching thing?
Yes.
So he's not even a real head coach. He was an assistant coach.
Bro, and it's just like, do you not think? So you don't think any coaches vote for you? You dipshit, right? And once again, these people they'll make an excuse for Trump. Now I think the coach thing may move the needle for some of these coaches because you go in for the guy and he's just like, yeah, you're not even a real coach. It's like, wait, what?
No, and I think that would bother lots of people, maybe even some that in the Midwest and the South. It's
let's not go crazy, right? Like I don't think it's gonna.
Well, there's not that many coaches out there to flip their votes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he said he's not a. I mean, we're not just talking football. Like anybody who's a coach of any sport is looking at that. Like, what are you talking about, dickbag? I don't know, but I don't know how many people it will actually move the needle for. It was just another terrible. Just a bad look. It just shows you how they're going down in flames.
Speaking of which, Trump is melting the fuck down.
Yeah, I mean, he just his posts are really unhinged, right? Like you hear his interviews, he's ranting, and it's the same stuff that he's been talking about. The same lack of depth, and he's just now he's angrily repeating the talking points. And that kind of gets me to, what should, I've kind of been stuck on, Kamala needs to define herself from a policy standpoint. She needs to get in front of the journalist and get in front of the media and talk directly to Fox News and talk directly to Stephanopoulos or somebody, or find someone that's going to be objective and kind of give her some hard questions. But then I think about it and I'm like, no, why does she need to do that? Right? Like that's what should be happening if we were a serious adult country, but we're children.
We clearly are not.
So, everyone's like, you can't get elected off vibes. The fuck you can't. Trump proved that.
Yeah.
Obama kind of proved that. Hell, Bill Clinton proved that, right? Yeah. You absolutely can get elected off of good vibes. So, hell, just ride the wave.
Yeah.
Don't break it up until you have to. I mean, look, she'll have a debate with Trump. She's got experience in debates. Mixed bag, right? Like she got a zinger in on there on Biden, and then she kind of faded after that. But, she's also got a lot more time under her belt now as VP. And she'll have plenty of time to prepare for it.
Yeah,
right?
I think Trump is shitting his pants over debating her. And I know that's a common, the liberal crowd wants to say that. No, I get that vibe. I think he's still complaining, saying he thinks Biden's going to come back and try to steal back the nomination.
I think you're right.
Didn't happen.
I think you're right. Now, my concern is that, when Kamala's bad, it's really not good. Right? When she's on, she's great, right? But if she gets stumped, she's got that awkward laugh and the whole sort of word salad that she'll throw out there, which is, and it's just like, well, why are you holding that against her and not Trump? I'm like, because Trump has proven it doesn't hurt him, right?
Yeah, no,
his nonsensical rambling and whatever rarely has shown any sort of evidence to hurt him, where with Harris, it could absolutely hurt her, and that's not because I think it should. It's because of how people respond to her.
Sure, and being a woman and being a black woman,
yes.
You're going to get judged differently. I'm not saying that's right, but it's obviously the reality.
I mean, there's more that goes into it because of some of these demographics. So, that's the concern I would have going in. Just me, if I'm on her team, like I got to make sure that she's prepared. I got to make sure that she knows that Trump's going to go sideways. That we've got her locked in on foreign policy and the border and,
Here's my expectation. Assuming the debate does happen, and it will not shock me if Trump finds a way to get out of it claiming it's rigged against him.
I told you before, he'll never do that. He will never back out because there's only, for him, you're going to put him on a stage by himself, right, in front of cameras and a microphone. He will never back away from that.
Well, assuming it goes...
they could barely keep him off the stand at his own fucking trial. Any of them.
There were a bunch of... Right? That was the great Hillary line, right? He couldn't even stay awake during his own trial, and then when he woke up, he had 34 felony convictions. I mean, yeah, she was on fire. But what I want to say is the Harris team has the playbook. Trump's not going to go off script. So they shouldn't... I mean, when he debated Hillary Clinton, it was the first time dealing with someone who handled things that way. When he debated Biden, Biden knew, pushed back, and when Biden told him, "Will you shut the hell up, man?" That was great. But if he tries any of that creepy shit, like walking behind Kamala Harris, she has to be ready for it, and she needs to smoke him for that. I don't think he will, but I
think that she can handle just fine.
Oh, I think she could too. I think Hillary flubbed that.
Hillary flubbed that because Hillary is awkward suburban white mom. Kamala's a different animal. Right? Oh, yeah. That would, if he did that to her, that he can kiss any chance he had goodbye. Right? I mean, it's just...
But they need to be prepared for that. They need to be prepared for all of it.
Unless
they've seen the playbook.
What they need to be prepared for are the questions that hurt her. Right? Questions about the border.
Yeah, the border's a big one.
Right? Questions about her foreign policy experience. Right? Which she's got a good rebuttal because she's been vice president. Like, she never... Like, it was crazy. But when she got elected... when she got elected, she was like, "Yeah, I've never been to Europe."
Yeah, I think that's right.
Right? And it's like, oh, okay, we shouldn't say that out loud. But, all that's changed now. But we didn't talk about much of what she was doing as the vice president. Right? We haven't. And then that's been a criticism, right? Because I even had my questions and I had to dig to find it, and come to find out, I think the work that she did do on the border was good. It's just the issue is that it wasn't what people are assuming. She achieved what she wanted to, what the goals were set out to be. Right.
Reducing the number of people coming across.
No. That's the thing. That wasn't part of the assignment. When Joe gave her that job, where everyone said she's the border czar, right? It was the things that we were talking about that needed to happen to stem the flow. Going in and working with the governments, bringing in, nonprofit organizations to get to the root causes of the problems of what's happening. Right.
Sure.
It was Border Patrol and. Homeland Security's job to deal with the border. He didn't tell her to go do that, right? If you go back and look what he said, but she did it. So she has to be ready for that, and they have to be able to detail out what they actually did do, right? And then be prepared for Trump's eye-rolling response and all that other stuff, right? Because if she gets stuck, right, and she does with the border, we've been really she doesn't go into it like that's the sort of thing where it's not going to look good.
And their offense needs to be reproductive rights, which they're doing a pretty good job with. Mm-hmm. They need to point out the fact that Trump killed the border bill by telling his lackeys not to put it to a House vote after it was approved by the Senate, endorsed by Lindsey Graham until he changed his mind again, and endorsed by the Department of Homeland Security, the Border Patrol. So all those agencies wanted this to go through, but Trump literally said it's bad for me politically. And she's hammered on that multiple times. Keep hammering it, and keep hammering all the disrespectful shit he's done to the police and the military. Get John Kelly out there. Get,
it's the debate.
In commercials. In commercials and stuff. Yeah, okay.
Those are a little bit separate things, right?
Sure.
But, I think... your point's taken. Like, look, Trump has given you plenty of rope to hang him with, right? From a debate, you just have to use it the right way, and so hopefully they do that, right?
And I'm optimistic. One of my complaints was always that when Hillary's whole thing was when they go low, we go high.
That was Michelle Obama.
Okay, well, Hillary repeated it, and Hillary tried to go high road and try to be suburban mom, whatever, and it didn't work. This is punching back. And I love it.
Yeah, again, it's just you have to remember, though, right? Is that you don't want to alienate your base by, because there are people who left that other side, Adam Kinzinger and others, right? They left that side for that constant taking of the low road, right?
That's true.
So you don't want to alienate.
It's different to me though, because it's one thing to point out factual things and say this is legit. It's
understood,
another one
but there's a very, very thin line there that you could cross into of taking shit too far. This is how we got here with MAGA. All I'm saying is, when you use the term when they go high and we go low, and now it's fuck that, we're gonna go low. How can I not say be careful with that, because it could alienate your base if you go too low.
Okay, and I'm looking at it more from a Bill Clinton perspective. Back when he ran, Democrats previously had done the whole Dukakis thing and tried to be the nice guys, and Bill Clinton, led by James Carville, just said, "We're coming back at you. We're going to come at you. We're not going to just play defense, and that's important."
What I'm saying is, but this is a different monster.
Yeah, the world's changed, no doubt about that.
Right, you can't match blow for blow with MAGA, because MAGA just literally makes shit up and lies about it. Right, and so sometimes you can hit them with the facts.
It's the old wrestling with a pig. Sooner or later, you find out the pig likes it.
Exactly. So just all I'm saying is that they got to be careful there.
All right.
Quickly, Ukraine crosses into Russia with their attacks.
Yeah, and this makes me... Well, so there's two aspects of this, and I'm not even going to claim to be like a military strategist, but history says when countries go from defense to offense, it goes bad a lot of times when they try to over-pursue. And now, I think this is just trying to take away strategic military sites, but whether it's the South going into Gettysburg, whether it's, the Germans splitting fronts and going to two different directions. A lot of times when you try to expand these things, you lose some kind of a tactical advantage. I hope that doesn't happen here, but that does make me nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add there because I think that's those are the main sort of takeaways. Like, I mean, hopefully it works out and we can get an end to this thing. But hopefully you also didn't spread yourself too thin or show too much of your hand and, you know.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Push it the wrong way.
But, I mean, obviously this has gone on way longer than anyone expected.
Right.
But if you would have told me at the start of this thing that in 2 years Ukraine would be taking territory and taking away military strategic military sites by advancing into Russian territory, I would have probably thought you were crazy. And they're doing it. Mm-hmm. And in fact, Zelensky said that, you know, I didn't tell anyone I was going to do this because I didn't want to, you know, lose the tactical advantage. Yeah, and good.
Yeah, no, I mean, plenty of leaky mouths, especially in Ukraine. You never know who you can trust. So that was definitely a smart move. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, again, you don't want to see Russia advance, any further than they already have. So hopefully it's the right move.
Yeah, and I just hope that one of these things triggers Russia to turn on Putin. Now, turning on Putin is a very dangerous prospect.
Your hopes and dreams today are pretty wild. Next thing, Imane Khelif. So it's not.
Just to forgot the.
She was an
Algerian
boxer, right? Who ends up taking gold that they claimed was had XY chromosomes or was trans, and got J.K. Rowling in trouble. Got her deleting messages and staying off social media because she's listed in a lawsuit. But her coach came out in an interview and said that after she got banned from the IBA, which had conflict with the IOC, they sent her blood work and everything out to be tested, and a very well-known doctor in that region of the world, said that she had issues with her hormones and that she did have elevated testosterone levels, but they were able to manage those and bring that down, and her testosterone levels were within normal range prior to the Olympics and during the Olympics, and I guess there was a reduction in her overall muscle mass and some other things. Now, this is coming from her coach. We haven't seen an official test. I don't even know how I feel about seeing an official test because we're talking about a person's medical records that should be private. Like, you shouldn't be forced to put your medical records on display for everybody for something like this, but I don't know. It feels like it's the only way this can end, or end in a way where she gets some form of peace, I guess.
I can't say it enough. I keep hearing people say, she's trans. I'm like, no, she's not. Oh, she was born a man. No, she was not. I know you've heard that. I know you heard it on your, echo chambers and whatever, but it's simply not true. And as we stated when this story first broke, if you think Algeria is going to be trans friendly,
right?
Yikes! I don't know that country inside and out, but I'm fairly confident it wouldn't fly there. Are they Muslim? I think they are.
Yeah, definitely. But I think punishable by death.
Okay, that's pretty.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's why I didn't want to necessarily say that because I don't know, but it's not going to be a good situation if you're in that situation in that group. And but it infuriates me when I'm talking to people that I genuinely like and generally respect, and they say that, and I go, no, that's not accurate. Oh yeah, it is. I'm like,
I just told you.
Yeah. Well, again, they hear it, they believe it, it fits their narrative, so it ain't going anywhere. All right. Slightly changing gears. You want to talk about Richard Simmons?
Yeah, it just, I don't know, it was weird. I was reading that they released his cause of death. He was 76, and they said that they ruled his death accidental related to prior falls and heart disease. And it just, the ruling of it as accidental just seemed bizarre to me. But then I guess if they're saying
it's not natural causes, it's not homicide.
He fell and that caused, I don't know, maybe
probably a blood clot.
Right. And he had some stuff going on with his heart, high blood pressure, heart disease, whatever. then I guess that now makes sense. It just
Okay.
it read weird initially.
Yeah.
And pay the respects to Richard Simmons, who was someone that we all knew, and
Here's where I'm curious about our age difference, because he was kind of, we're 10 years apart. I'm 10 years older than you, and I knew him as a kid. He was on TV when I was a kid. I saw him all the time, and he was kind of a rock star, exercise guy.
Yeah,
he was very flamboyant.
he had a show. He had a show on TV forever until
did you see
early
him?
'90s. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I wasn't sure where that line gets drawn.
Right, and then you used to be able to buy it. Right, like he had the infomercials. Right?
Yeah,
talking about
sweating to the oldies,
and all that sort of stuff. And then I would see him on, Johnny Carson.
Sure.
And
I was just curious.
Jay Leno and all that sort of stuff.
I was just curious where his story is weird. Like, he disappeared for. He didn't really disappear, but he was not seen in public for years. There was actually a podcast called Finding Richard Simmons that had multiple episodes where this guy was literally convinced he was being held hostage or was dead, and it turned out to be a big nothing burger. He just wanted his privacy and didn't go out. But I mean, the end of his life was strange.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, and so was that commentary, but
yeah, I mean, just someone going on a hunt for Richard Simmons.
Yeah,
is so bizarre.
and make your podcast, and I listened to a couple episodes actually.
That's wild. But no, that's it. We got college football starting up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes. This Saturday. By the time you hear this, the first college football game will have been played.
Will have been played, yes. And then our alma maters and Ohio State all start next week. So excited about college football season, especially with, there's a lot of hype behind Ohio State, a lot of pressure on Ryan Day. I mean, they first and foremost need to beat Michigan, and then they need to get themselves, I think, into the national title game and probably need to win it. And that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, are you saying in order for Ryan Day to keep his job?
Maybe, yeah.
I think if they lose to Michigan again and miss out on the playoff,
he's done.
Okay.
He's absolutely done.
Yeah.
They lose to Michigan and they don't get in the playoff, he's gone. They lose to Michigan, somehow get in the playoff, win a championship.
You can't fire a championship coach ever.
Good. But, I mean, so he definitely needs to beat Michigan. I think that's his easiest path to continued employment. And then, I think probably getting to a national championship game, buys him a little bit more of a buffer than just, is this do we have a new playoff format this year?
You know what?
Does that start this year or next year?
I don't know.
Oh.
I think it's I think it is this year.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was 24 or 25 if it got expanded. But
and the whole college football
it's so weird, right? Like, I mean,
Washington and UCLA and USC are in the Big Ten.
Yes.
That makes no fucking sense.
No.
There is essentially no Pac-12 anymore.
No, there is no Pac-12.
Oh, is it official? Okay,
Gone.
I thought they still had like 2 members and were trying to figure out.
Oh, maybe
I think Oregon State and Washington State never found a new home, so it might. They're going to play each other 10 times, and
I don't know.
I'm joking.
I mean, it's a mess. I on the one hand, I understand why it happened, but at the same time, you hate to see the, just the historical loss. The multiple conferences that are going away. Just this ridiculous cross-country nonsense that teams are going to have to endure.
And as bad as it is in football, that's 1 game a week.
Right.
What's going to be like when you're a student at Indiana and you got to get to,
Los Angeles.
Well, I was just thinking, like, is it Eugene, Oregon? Where is University of Oregon?
Yeah.
Okay. To Eugene, Oregon. I mean, granted, they're going to charter stuff, but still, it's fucking crazy. And it annoys me because I used to really be into the history and pageantry of college ball. Like, the pro game is a professional sporting league, obviously. But we knew it was about money, and I still cared. You still care. It's still great, but it's a professional league. It's money. When guys got traded, when guys got cut, when guys held out, you're like, all right, it's a business, and I'm fine with that. College used to at least give me the ability to lie to myself enough to think it wasn't all about the dollars. I know it was. I'm not that, but I could at least fake it. I can't fake it anymore.
No.
And I can also see this completely blowing up in their face because, part of the fun of college football was, Ohio State's playing Michigan. Let's go up to Michigan for the day. Well, now you're getting on a 3-hour flight cross country, and it's probably a 5-hour flight.
5-hour,
yeah. It's just not going to have that same thing.
Oregon might be longer, right?
Yeah. Well, to get to if you are a civilian trying to get from Bloomington, Indiana to Eugene, Oregon, you're probably going to Chicago and then maybe only 2 flights, but it's probably 3 legs, I would guess.
Yikes.
And I mean, you and I travel a lot. I hate not having direct flights, but I can do one layover. I can do the one. If you make me do it twice, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it'll blow up in their face initially because so much of the money that they make is from
Advertising?
TV and advertising, yeah, and endorsements and Nike and all that. But
what are you worried about? People traveling to the games? Fans?
Well, just, fans not traveling to games, people losing interest, fans saying, old alumni who used to love going to the West Virginia Pitt game.
I don't think you lose the interest because we have legal gambling. So
that is true. Okay, that's very true. But, which is also so weird to me, because when I was a kid growing up, if you were involved in sports media and you mentioned gambling, you were probably losing your job.
It wasn't that long ago.
That's not
but it wasn't even that long ago where that was still the case. I mean, maybe 5-6 years.
And now they put the odds on the scroll underneath the game you're watching.
Right. Like, just ESPN has a whole betting app attached to it now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's crazy,
so
but it's so mainstream. I met a friend, a work associate or acquaintance or whatever at a bar, and this was during the Olympics. And there were these younger girls, probably mid to late 20s, next to us, and I hear them talking, and I hear one, I'm in DraftKings. And the other one says, I'm in...
FanDuel.
MGM.
Okay.
Right? And I'm like, what? And I turn around, right? And both these girls were betting on stuff for the Olympics.
Really?
Yes. Just two white chicks, 20-something post-grad white chicks, just, and I asked them, like, what are you guys doing? They're just like, this is so fun. Like, can't wait for football season to start. We have a ton of fun. Last year I made $500. I was like...
How much did you lose to make that $500 is also the question.
But still.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And so that's why I'm saying, like, I think because there are people pushing back because the NFL is just making so much money. Like the Cowboys got a $10 billion valuation. The Browns talking about the stadium, it's going to cost $1 billion. $1 billion building, right?
Yeah.
$1 billion building. That's so insane, right? Like I literally, my job is to develop buildings. I've worked on massive projects where, we built hundreds of homes that cost $100 million, right?
Right.
You're talking about $1 billion for one. It's more than one building, obviously, for building a stadium. But the point is that people are very, they have their eye on the wallet of the NFL, and people continue. Like MAGA tried this, the NFL is dying, right? The NFL's not dying. Right, like it's just not dying by any metric, no matter how bad.
If you say it enough times, maybe it'll be true.
Yeah, if you say it enough times,
not.
maybe 25 years from now, you'll finally be able to say the NFL is dying. Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now. But what I know right now, for the next 5 years, these guys are going to make money hand over fist and foot and dick.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see how some of these quarterback. Contracts are going, right? Yep. Right now, the 12th highest paid quarterback in the NFL is Pat Mahomes, slightly ahead of number 13, Josh Allen.
Yep.
Now, to their credit, both guys have said, I'm cool. And they should be, because they're making, Josh Allen, I think, is going to make $43 million this year.
I think they reworked Mahomes' deal.
Okay.
I'm almost positive.
I read this in the Well, it was on the internet, Steve.
Well, but yeah, they're.
Oh, you're saying they lowered his cap hit because they needed to.
No. They reworked his deal. They put more money in his deal, but it doesn't start until 26 maybe, or something like that. I think they added a lot of money to it, though.
I'm sure. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I got into an argument with one of my buddies down at my Irish pub about Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, and this guy was telling me I was crazy for putting Josh ahead of Lamar. And you can make the case. I mean, you got 2 MVPs for Lamar, and they're both fucking studs. But anyone who says anyone other than Mahomes at number 1, you're just hating.
Who did he have at number 1?
Oh, everyone had Mahomes number.
Oh, okay.
He had Lamar 2, Allen 3. I had Allen 2, Lamar 3. Oh. But it's funny when that's taken as a slight.
Right.
You know, it's like, I'm not shitting on Lamar. You're not shitting on Josh Allen. It's just, it's a difference of opinion, and it's fun shit to banter about at a bar. But this kid got under my skin of attacking Derek Jeter. After that, he talked.
What?
He talked about Derek Jeter and said Derek Jeter was a trash shortstop defensively. And then I was like, this is Levante, the cook at PJ's, and he smelled blood and he went after it. He was just jab after jab after jab. All right, man, we got a little bit of time left, and I've got a question for you, and I'm sort of out of the blue, but have you been to a dispensary in Ohio since they opened? Since they became recreationally legal, I should say.
I have not, no.
Okay, I haven't either. I've looked at the prices online, but I've looked at the prices online. Oh, I want to keep an eye on this, because I looked at the prices online, and then a friend of mine went to Michigan and grabbed me some stuff, and it's roughly twice as expensive in Ohio.
Whoa!
Yeah, a cart in Michigan is about $20. It's about $46 at the sites I looked at here. So there's going to be a lot of people flocking to Michigan, and now you don't have to worry about it. Now, I mean, people were doing that before.
Hold
on. Why do you have to hold on?
I don't know, man. Maybe convenience factor comes into
play.
play.
Yeah, sure.
Do I really want to drive to Michigan? Like, what is that? I mean, because you got to think about it. It's a 3-hour drive, right? Or,
about 2.
Well, depending on where you go.
I can get to a dispensary in 2 hours.
Right.
Trust me.
But maybe I prefer a specific dispensary in Sterling Heights.
Okay.
Right? Out there. So, but whatever. All right, fine. 2 hours, right? But if you want to go all the way in, then maybe,
and it's 2 hours back, so it's a 4-hour.
So I mean, you got gas, you got tolls.
True.
Right. So I don't know. I guess it depends on how much you're buying, when you're buying it, right? Like, what if you run out?
Sure.
You don't think about it. You're not playing. Like, you're gonna. I don't know. I think the convenience factor will reduce some of that flocking to Michigan. But I think you're right. People will still go, even if it doesn't make mathematical sense.
Well, it's an ounce at the dispensaries I was looking at is roughly $250 an ounce in Ohio. And I mean, I don't smoke flower very often, but I believe it's right around $100 an ounce in Michigan. So now you're saving $150.
That's different.
Yeah, right. I would not. If I had the choice of spending $46 and driving 10 minutes, or $20 and driving 2 hours, and I'm buying one cart, I'm doing the 10-minute drive. But if I want 3 ounces, and it's going to cost me $750 in Cleveland, and $300, I mean. That pays the gas and the tolls there right away. All right, I just wanted to see if you had actually gone into one. I'm curious to see what it's like. I will probably try one out soon. And I'm also just looking at this from an economic standpoint, and that's where I wanted to go, is the driving force of how much will I go out of my way to save money on things like this. And I'm going to be very curious to see how long Ohio can maintain their prices before they start losing business. And the truth is, they're probably not going to lose business because this shit sells. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
All right, man. That's pretty much all I got. You want to add anything else?
No, good.
All right. We are at Whiskey Congress on Instagram and Twitter, and we are done.